Okay, this is a quick one. Let's go through it really fast. Today's video is going to be about a PCP and why it's important to have follow-ups with them. It can get very hard to get patients to even book an appointment after an ER visit. So we need to learn how to communicate what the PCP is for and what it actually is. So this is just the general dictionary information. This is the first contact professional for a health concern and continuing care for various medical conditions. You can also say it in Spanish, es el profesional de primer contacto para un problema de salud y atención continua para diversas afecciones médicas. Now, how can we use this and apply it and explain it using an easy to follow analogy? Soccer being so big right now, this is the only one I can think of. If you're familiar with soccer, with the world of soccer, you know that Xavi, which was a great soccer player, just became the club manager of one of the most famous soccer teams, Barcelona. So you can just apply it and maybe say, you know what, your PCP is kind of like your club manager, your soccer's club manager, which pretty much that's your go-to person whenever you need a referral and you need to be sent to maybe go see neuro, ENT, oncology, urology, OBGYN, cardiology, PT, OT, GI, on MI, medical imaging, etc. You can also say it in Spanish, you can say el tener un doctor de cabecera es el primer profesional de salud. Es como tener tu propio director técnico. El director técnico te manda a otorrinolaringología, ENT, oncología, oncology, urología, urology, gineco-obstetra, OBGYN, cardiología, cardiology, fisioterapia, terapia ocupacional, los terapeutas, no terapistas, but terapeutas, gastroenterología, GI, imágenes médicas, medical imaging, or neurology, neurología, etc. Okay, and maybe club manager or director técnico, it's not the most appropriate term, but director técnico is very, very common among the Hispanic community. They'll know what you're talking about if you use this term. Maybe a better term would be the head coach, which also another great soccer player just made it big by being the new head coach of the same team, Barcelona. Maybe this is the term that's better suited when we're talking about a PCP, the head coach. Now, talking about the appropriate term, let me try to explain to you what PCP is in Spanish. I see a lot of providers, hear a lot of providers, and even interpreters interpret PCP as primary care physician to doctor de cuidados primarios o doctor de atención primaria, and which is technically not wrong. It's not the most well-known term in the Hispanic community. We are more familiar with doctor de cabecera. That's your PCP, your go-to doctor. What exactly does this mean, doctor de cabecera? Well, let me explain to you. Try to explain it to you. Doctor de cabecera literally means headboard doctor, making reference to the headboard in a bed. Yes, that's anatomy of a bed. But let me try and explain to you where this term was born. This term has ground in a very, very famous story from the 1920s titled Death, the Godmother. And let me just give you the rundown on how this story goes. I'm going to go through it really quickly. I'm just going to give you the short version of the story. I'm not the greatest storyteller, so just bear with me. So the story begins with A man having a very humble job. He had 12 kids, barely had enough to support the family, but after the 13th child, he needed to find a godfather for the baby in case, something happened to him. So he went out on the street and he found God, and God offered health and happiness, given the fact that God allows poverty in the world, the father of the kid, chose that maybe he wasn't the best choice for his kid. So he kept on looking. And then he also encountered the devil. And the devil offered gold and all the joys of the world. But the father stated that the devil deceives humanity and will not be the best choice for his kid. So, again, not the best option. And, he also encountered death. Death made the argument that, death treats the rich and the poor exactly the same. No discrimination whatsoever, completely fair. The humble man made the death his kid's godmother. The father thought that death was the best choice. So, as time went on, death and the kid grew, became an adult. Death took the kid to the woods and provided him with magical healing herbs and promised to make him a famous doctor. Okay, that's how the story goes. And, Death actually told him that he would help him out whenever he would get called. If the death appeared near the headboard of the bed, then the doctor should administer the drug. But if the death appeared at the footboard, there was no chance of survival and the patient would die soon. So the story begins, using his new ability, he became famous very quickly, accumulated luxuries very quickly, pretty much your typical rags to riches story. One day, the king of the village got very sick. Very, very sick. Unfortunately, the death appeared at the footboard of the bed. But the now famous doctor tricked Death and flipped the bed and tricked Death. Now this made Death very, very angry. But given the fact that it was his godson, Death opted for no punishment, but stated that if he were to ever do it again, he would lose his life. So, more time went on, and the king's daughter got very, very sick. Very sick. And he actually promised that if the famous doctor could heal her, the king actually offered his daughter's hand in marriage and the succession to the throne. And being charmed by the beauty of the princess and overwhelmed by the idea of becoming her husband, the doctor, ignoring the warnings of the death, because death once again appeared at the footboard of the bed, once again performed the same maneuver, saving the queen, the princess. But this time, Death got very angry and dragged him to an underground cave to show him why death must never be cheated. Right here, he showed him candles of different heights, which represent the life of everyone up in the surface. Once he saw his candle was almost gone, he pleaded for a new one, as he wanted to be the king and the princess' husband. Death momentarily considered it, but decided to turn the flame off, and as soon as the flame was off, the doctor died. Why? Because death is always fair, which is why she was chosen in the first place to be the kid's godmother. And this is the story that gives birth to the term Doctor de Cabecera, headboard doctor. I hope you liked the little story. Please, Doctor de Cabecera. A lot of movies have been made which have roots in this story. Please subscribe, follow me on TikTok, and also on